Hi, I'm Marcy from Rising Sun Yoga and Wellness. I want to share with you 3 key movements that we do frequently in every single class I teach. So I want to just get them down so that you know them in your body right away. Remember, always listen to your body and what your body is telling you. Don't try to make it do what it's not wanting to do. Less is more, so don't force that movement. Slowness is our friend. Make the movement small, slow, gentle, with curiosity. If your doctor has given you any restrictions that any of this practice would be compromising, please don't do what I'm saying. Do what you've been asked to do by the doctor. Every single one of these poses can be modified and adapted without seeing you in person and knowing what's going on. I may not know what your body needs. I will come up with as many modifications and variations in the class, but if you have something different going on in your body that I'm not aware of, just send me an email, ask me, just reach out, and I will show you how to do that pose for your body. There are certain things that we do on the ground, on our bellies all the time, that can easily be done standing up against the wall for ease. One thing that we actually don't do in class very often, because it can be really hard for people, is a down dog. But a down dog can also be done standing up against the wall and get a different benefit, but it still works with the same parts of the body. It's very, very nice to do that and break it down as part of a practice so that you can experience it against the wall before you experience it on the floor. But for people like I was for a very long time, I had a very bad rotator cuff injury. I found doing it on the wall was my way of being able to do that work in my body. So if you find one particular pose a challenge for you that we're doing in our class, one particular movement, let me know and I will tell you another way to do it, and probably just make a video and send it to you. So with that, you'll always hear me ask you to lie down on the mat in easy resting pose. Easy resting pose is called constructive resting pose, effortless resting pose. Those are 2 other names for it. We come down on the floor. We want to pay attention to the placement of our feet. Our feet should be approximately a hip width apart. If you notice that your knees are naturally dropping inward, you might need to bring your feet a tiny bit closer together. And if you notice that your knees are dropping out, you might want to walk the feet apart just a little bit. But we want them about a hip width apart. Then we want to notice, we want to start paying attention to this area. We don't want it touching too much or too far apart. It should feel like if you made a house of cards, that little gentle, barely touching, that's how our knees should be. Along those lines, we want to check the weight in the heels and the balls of the feet. We want that weight evenly distributed. So if the weight's too much in the heels and not in the balls, the legs are becoming apart like that too far. If you're feeling it more in the balls and less in the heels, they're too close. So you want to find that perfect spot where the feet are about a hip width apart, knees aren't dropping in nor dropping out. That weight is evenly distributed between the heels and the balls and the feet. When you get into this position, gently press through your feet if you want, just floating the bum up a little bit, and then let it come gently back down on the ground so it feels like the back of your hips are wide and open. And check the position of the chin in relation to the forehead. We want that chin slightly lower than the forehead. And what you're going to feel then is that the neck grows nice and long. The whole spine feels longer. If the chin is up higher, you're going to feel this little rounded space in the back of the neck. Now in this position, when we go to begin the arch, and the flatten, before that, I want you to pay attention to how this feels on the body. Most people find when they get into an easy resting pose that on one hand it's very relaxing, and on the other hand it feels energetic, it feels alive. This position in and of itself is a very sweet release for the psoas. So lying here for a while, at the end of the day, you can lie here 10 or 15 minutes if you want. It's lovely for the body. But to do the arch and flatten, you're going to roll the hips forward. So what we're doing is we're drawing the sit bones and the tailbone down to the body. The belly rises up in the air as if it's on a string, and a little arch appears in the lower spine. So I'm going to do an exaggerated one, okay? And I'm going to do it a little quickly because it'll help you see it. Ready? I'm going to roll into an arch. Look, my hand comes through at the bottom right there, if you can see that. I'm waving with my fingers. So I'm in an exaggerated arching position. We release from there back to our neutral. And then we roll the hips and the tailbones and the sit bones up. And it'll literally come off the floor. We're not lifting it high, but the back will flatten on the ground. So that's a flatten. I'm not lifting up so I'm on my shoulders. I'm rolling my hips the opposite direction so my bum is making less contact, but my spine is making more contact. So I'm going to do this a couple of times very quickly so that you can see the movement. I'm going to do it exaggerated so you can really see it. Arch, flatten. Arch, flatten. Okay. Now, I'm going to settle in here, and I'm going to show you how to do a slow, mindful arch and flatten. When I did those arches and flattens, I could make my body do that. That's bullying the body, because my body doesn't really like to do that. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't want to do that. Sometimes in class, I'll cue, do the largest arch that you can and let people do that really big arch. And I'll tell them, go ahead and do it quickly, back and forth, because it does kind of feel good to do this quickly. But then, I always invite you to listen to what the body's asking for, to really tune in and get quiet and noticing the movement. It's going to be harder to see now because I'm slowing it down and it'll be smaller. Pay attention. Rolling the hips forward. Tailbone rolls towards the floor and the sit bones come down towards the mat. And slow release. Back to neutral in the body. And then roll in the opposite direction so that the tailbone and sit bones come up off the ground. And release. Going back into the arch. Release. And moving back slowly into my flatten. Then we allow this to grow into a mini arch and curl. So the way we do that, if you see now, I'm flattened. Now I'm lifting my shoulders up to the sky. So if you see, there's a greater curve in my body right here. Release that. And now I'm going into an arch with the shoulders pressing down towards the mat behind. That lets that arch go up the spine, elongating that movement. So here's that mini curl. And the arch coming back down behind. This is our mini arch and curl. That's all there is to it. You roll in and out. Feels really good a lot of times when you're done. Draw the knees up and roll out the back. See how that feels. So those are 3 key pieces you're going to need to do our practice every time you do it. Thanks.